Hello, it's that time again. Get up, get off the couch, tackle your own to-do list. Stay tuned. Welcome to the Just Ask Bob Show. I am your host, Bob Assadourian, and yet we kick it off with another viewer's email. Hello, Bob. We need to add an extra receptacle in our home. Unfortunately, the wall is finished and painted drywall. Bob, can you show us how this can be done? Can we do it without damaging the wall? And can we do the work ourselves if we pull a permit? Ted, Binbrook, Ontario. Ted, thank you, and thank you to all the viewers. I wouldn't have a show without viewer submissions. Please feel free, anytime at all. Send us your emails, send us your questions, and some of them will be selected for the basis of an episode. Now, as far as the questions, okay, this involves fishing, so let's take a moment to talk. When a home is constructed from scratch, ideally, that's the best time to run wires, if it's a well-planned situation. Now, once the drywall's in the way, obviously it creates concerns. You don't want to have to break the wall. Some walls may have cross-blocking. Now, electricians, licensed master electrical contractors have skill. Not only are they electricians, but they're trained in the structure of a home. So they understand top plates, bottom plates, cross-blocking spanning inside a wall, rim joists. They know how to fish through finished walls. Sometimes, not always guaranteed, the job can be done without a scratch on the wall. Other times, we like to call them fist-size holes, have to be made in the walls in order to accommodate pulling the wire, threading it, so to speak, through the obstruction and then down to where you want it. Now, the other part of the question regarding permits. Now, the ESA, Electrical Safety Authority, very strange the way they work this. Now, myself, as a licensed general contractor, I am not allowed to perform any wiring in a customer's home. The homeowner can pull a permit and do the work themselves. Now, you ask, why can a homeowner do it with a permit? And myself as a contractor, licensed, cannot do it. It's just the way the ESA is set up. Homeowners have rights. No one can completely cut them out of the picture. However, you must have a permit. And if you're hiring an electrician, if it's just an electrician, he might be moonlighting. No permits available. It has to be an master electrical contractor. The contractor is the important part at the end. That means he has insurance. That means he has liability coverage, WSIB to protect the employees, and he's registered with the ESA, the regulating body in the province of Ontario that licenses, well, not licenses, but inspects. That's the key. Inspects the jobs at certain critical points. Follow us now. Up next, we're going to be visiting one of our R job sites where we're going to teach you how to start fishing wires. Welcome back to the Just Ask Bob Show. Special guest on today, John Tenbrink, my good friend and our master licensed electrical contractor. Just like the viewer sent in the email, we're going to show you today how to demystify the process of installing a receptacle plug where one did not exist. John, let's talk electrical first.
All right.
Big question that comes in all the time for the viewers. Explain to them the difference between a master licensed electrical contractor, as I love to refer you as, versus an electrician that's moonlighting.
All right, the true matter is that there's three different steps. There's a journeyman electrician, there's a master electrician, and then there's a licensed electrical contractor licensed with the ESA. So obviously your first step is to get your journeyman's license, which allows you to work in the electrical field for a electrical contractor. In order to be an electrical contractor, you have to be or employ a master electrician, and that is the designated master for the company. And in order to hire a company, the company has to be a licensed electrical contractor. So if I'm just a journeyman electrician, you can't hire me legally. So
Many homeowners have hired.
they've done it, and I mean, it's just I think a lot of it's miseducation. They think this guy's a licensed electrician. But the truth of the matter is that by law, that electrician cannot accept any sort of currency whatsoever in exchange for work. It has to be through a licensed electrical contractor, and it has to have a permit on each job. You can't just hire a master electrician, do work, and then be gone. The ESA frowns on that and against the Electricity Act of Ontario.
Tell the viewers, how many years did this wonderful process take from when you began as an employee or apprentice to becoming licensed as a contractor?
So it should take around 5 years from the time you get your start your apprenticeship until the fact that you can write your electrical test. It's 9,000 hours. Now I know some apprentices out there that are 11 years in and still don't have their license, but that's a different story. But guys like me get it done in about 4.5 years, 5 years.
And a little plug to you for the viewers, because I know this about you. Are you not the youngest electrician in Ontario?
At the time,
take it off from there. I don't know whether to graduate.
At the time I wrote the test for the master test, I was the youngest in Ontario at 25 in one day.
Wow. I chose well in having you run all our wires.
Thanks, Bob.
Other part of the viewer's email was respect to they're not looking at hiring an electrician or electrical contracting firm. I believe the gentleman, Ted, the husband, he wants to run a receptacle similar to what we're doing today, and he wants to know if he can apply for the permit, do the work himself. Please run us through the steps of that for the viewers.
If you're a homeowner in the home, you are allowed to do your own electrical work, but you have to take out a permit. It doesn't matter if you're a homeowner or not, you have to take out a permit. But if in your own home, you can do the work.
Excellent, excellent. A brief explanation of what we discussed earlier before the show. We know there's a lot of fakes out there, but you came across a story of somebody that was extremely creative. They were impersonating, was it a licensed electrician?
Well, there's a couple stories out there. There's people that have been impersonating, but a few years ago, a guy was impersonating being an electrical contractor to the homeowners, and he had been fined and caught multiple times.
Was he jailed?
He was the first person under he was the first person under the Electricity Act to get jailed for constant non-licensed electrical work.
Okay, I was very happy when I read that, because at least in my trade with contractors, whether stealing deposits, being unlicensed, doing shoddy work, never will they be jailed. You know, there's no such thing. That doesn't happen. But with electrical, you know, there could be a life and death installation or life and death error. I'm glad with that they threw the book at him.
Yeah, so there's an old thing in Ontario called the Electricity Act. And the ESA, which is the Electrical Safety Authority, is the only private organization in Ontario that has the full power of law.
Wow.
So they enforce the Electricity Act and can pursue charges against anybody who goes against the Electricity Act.
Well, see, the way I like to phrase it to homeowners, let's take for a moment, if it's between plumbing and wiring, step into the plumbing, tackle it. What's the worst can go wrong? You're going to get your socks wet. Tackle electrical. John, what's the worst that can go wrong?
You die.
Okay, very well explained. Now, just like the viewer sent in, John, what are we putting in today and how are we doing it? And I'll let you get to your master trades work.
All right, so this is going to be their home office.
Okay.
And so they're actually going to be putting a desk right here. That's why the plug is so high. So they've requested that we add a couple outlets for their desk that have USB chargers built in.
Handy.
So what we've done here is we've measured it out. I've decided to measure it at 42 inches because the desk is used things for ergonomics.
Okay.
And so what we've done is we've measured out this box called an 1104L. They just call it a retrofit box for the homeowners. It has two ears right here, and that is to sit against and catch the drywall. And so all electrical work has to be done into a approved junction box. So what we've done is this 3.5 inches by 2.5 inches, which we've traced here. It takes a little practice, but you always cut slightly bigger.
Beautiful trace.
Because of, you see the bubbles right here? That gives it space. So we always trace it a slight bit bigger. But we want it very important that we do not go too high, because otherwise these lips right here, will not catch the drywall and support it.
And then the box will want to fall in.
Because this is a retrofit application, we already have existing drywall. So normally you'd use a mount to that, you'd mount wood in a construction purpose, but because we're adding this in, it's important that it mounts to the drywall. So we've measured it out. We've already run our wire from the panel. We're going to add a couple. So first thing we do after we measure it out is we're going to cut this box out. Now, sorry, but my hands are going to go up high here. This is a drop ceiling, so we've cut a small hole above the drop ceiling. It's protected so you can use Romex wiring. So we're going to cut the box out. You want to be a little bit gentle when you do this. You don't want to punch through the drywall, so you just start with small hits until you're broken through. We don't want to make sure we stay in the lines. It's okay to be a slight bit off, you just don't want to be too far off. Alright, so now we have our rough opening. What I always do is I always check to make sure the box fits before I put it down. So it's snug, it fits in here well. Now you'll notice here that for the screw hole it's a little bit high, so what I'll do is I'll just pop this box out and you just make a slight indent here for this little, we call it a hickey, and you'll notice that it fits right in. So we'll remove the box. So next step we're going to do is we're going to use a metal fish tape. Now normally it's easier to go from down up, but because of the situation we're in, we're going to go from up down. It's a little bit tricky. So we have a metal fish tape here, sell it at every hardware store. We obviously keep them because this is what we do regularly. So we're going to pull a little bit out. You want to be careful with this thing because it does have a little bit windy effect, so it can shoot back at you. Sorry, I'm going to pull it a little bit more. So what I'm going to get Bob to do is, Bob usually it's a two-person do. So Bobby's going to push this up the hole for me. You'll notice it has a natural bend, and we want to ride it up the drywall to the hole. So if Bob could push this up to me, and what I'm going to do is I have a little hook here with a little bent end. It takes some practice. We have this kind of set up, so...
You know, I'm not an electrician.
That's fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this hook and try to catch it. Push it all the way up, boom. And then I'm eventually going to feel it. Sorry if you can't see great, but we'll show it. Okay, it feels like I'm catching. Oh, a little bit caught. Let it down a little bit, boom. Sorry, oh, there we go.
You have that much luck when you're fishing?
Not always. So what we're going to leave this out here. Now I've run the wire. Now when you have a tight situation, what I like to do is I take a little knife. Now this takes a little bit of practice, we've done it before. I split it down the center, and you'll expose the middle wire, the ground wire. So what I'll do is I'll take my pliers, I'll cut off the other two wires, and then what we do is we stick this through the hole like this, and we just bend it over, and what that does is it gives it something to anchor to. And then we will take a little bit of tape just to make sure it doesn't catch on anything.
If you don't tape it, it could snag inside.
It snags a lot more easy. And now what we'll do is we'll have Bobby feed it down to me, and we just try to give it a little bit of downward pressure, not too hard so you don't pull it out. Okay, so now it's free and loose, and I just pull down, and I've got enough wire right there. So now I'm all set up here, the wire's in place, and I don't need that much wire, so what I'll do is I'll just cut this off, put this down loosely.
I'll roll it up for you.
And I'm set up to set up the box. So we've got the wire through. I've got a nice little knife here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split the wire down right down the center. You want to be a little bit gentle, but the ground wire's in the middle. You can't really hurt it unless you're trying. I usually use a reference from my pinky to my thumb for the length. Okay, so what I do is I've stripped it down the center, pull the sheathing to the side, and then what I do is I just trim off the excess sheathing, and you're ready to go. So what I've done is I've popped out one knockout in the top of my box. And inside here you'll see a clamp. I slide it through. And what I do is I take a red Robbie screwdriver that's stuck in my pocket, tighten down the clamp. Okay, so it's nice and tight. You'll notice inside there's two screws in the middle. That's your ground or your bonding screw. And what you do is you take your ground wire flat and you want to tighten clockwise against it. If you go counterclockwise, it'll loosen it. and we're all set up. So now what we're going to do is push the box in the hole, and what we use, this is called a bracket support. We nickname them F-clips. You'll notice that one side is shorter than the other, and you want to reverse them as you install them. So if my first side, the long side, goes up, I slide it in the hole like this. These take a little bit of practice. I'll be honest with you, I've been doing this for a long time, and I don't even get these right half the time. And once, sorry, you're not going to get a great view because I got to put pressure on it. Once you've put the box in the hole, you wrap this tight around the box, and that's one side. Then I do it the exact opposite on the other side. I put the long side down, and I want to wrap them nice and tight. After you get them in there, take some pliers and you pinch them down. And now you have a supported box. So we have our ground wire, so now we're going to strip. First one, the neutral, and the live conductor. Now this is a USB plug. It's relatively new to the market, a few years, and so it's really great for charging cell phone and tablets. The power that this produces is a lot stronger than the standard cube, so it charges your devices a lot faster. It's getting really popular. Kids love them. What you have here is a brass screw and a white screw. The white screw is for, obviously, the white wire. That's the neutral wire. The gold screw is for your live conductor, and you put your bonding wire inside. So I've made a little hook. This is a green Robinson to tighten this down. White wire under the white screw. This one goes straight in, has a clamp style. Black wire. Nice and tight. So all the connections are done. And what we do now is we fold the wires towards the back. And now all you do, push the box in and you screw it down. And that's all there is to it.
John, let's take a moment. I want you to come look at a fuse panel with me. Looks like an antique. Should people at home worry if this is what they have in their house?
In this current situation, yes, but we've done this on purpose. We're going to be changing this panel shortly. We've just tied in some things temporarily. Not something a homeowner should necessarily be doing. This is just for some construction purposes while the house is under construction.
Could a homeowner replace this if they had a permit?
They can.
But that's going a little too far.
It's probably going a little bit far on the average do-it-yourself job. Refusing a panel, this is already 100 amp. You see the conduit coming through over here. This is your mains compartment. I wouldn't recommend going in here too much. Sorry. This is where your main fuses are. This is your wires from the city. Now these ones cannot be shut off by hand. That's why they're really dangerous. You don't want your hands in there. When this switches in the off direction, this is dead. So it's a little safer. I really don't recommend being in there if you don't need to be. This is just your cartridges. So picture this fuse as a breaker. Now, fuses themselves are actually safer than breakers because they react faster. It's just that you can manually change these things. So you can put a 20 amp circuit where a 15 amp belongs, and that's how fire started. So this is just your neutrals and grounds. And basically each circuit has a fuse, and then you have your big one up here for your stove.
So I assume on this job site of yours, you're going to be replacing this with a breaker panel.
That's correct.
And then everything's tied in.
That's correct.
Fantastic. Good for the homeowners to know. Up next, kitchen cabinets. We're going to be showing you how to install LED under cabinet lighting. Welcome back. We're here with Andy. Thank you, Andy, for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Andy's the foreman for the electrical division for Blackjack Contracting, John's company. Andy, tell us a little bit about some options here.
Well, today we're actually putting in 120 volts under cabinet LED lights. This one's a 2-foot piece. It's 7 watts, and it has an internal driver in it. And because of the way it's made, there is no heat, pretty much no heat that comes from it.
Speaking of heat and alternatives, tell the viewers a little bit about the pot lights, the round ones, the ones that get really hot.
Well, I went into a job a couple months ago, and the customer was complaining about their under cabinet light not working and having some very strange smells. So I walked in, nothing was working. There was one bulb that was still working, and it was actually burning the wood underneath the cabinet.
Because those are what, 80 watts?
They can range. You can change some of the bulbs, and that's what's dangerous about it. It might be rated for 30 watts, and someone goes and gets a 50-watt bulb and puts it in.
So almost equivalent to old-style halogen pot lights.
Correct.
Okay, another option for this. I know we've done some of my jobs a long time ago. Tell us a little bit about the strip LED lighting.
So the tape LED light is a very good idea if it was reliable in the terms of it staying on your cabinet.
The stick doesn't hold.
Correct. After a couple months, there's always going to be a little bit of heat, and that little bit of heat actually peels the tape off the back.
Okay, so this is essentially similar to the strip, but it's mechanically installed.
That is correct. It comes with these clips that you screw under the bottom of your cabinet.
Excellent. I'll let you do your work.
So for the sake for TV, I pre-installed this junction box. It has just your hot wire, your neutral, and your bond wire, and you just run them right through, white to white, black to black, ground to ground, and I just have to screw this up now. So now that is up, we have to install the little brackets that will actually hold the LED light on. So when you're installing these brackets, you want to get them somewhat close to the same distance from the front or the back of the cabinet, so the light is somewhat straight. You won't be able to see it because of the little valance on the front, but if anybody is looking underneath, you can see it. So once that's on, you can go ahead and clip your light in. It's easy as that. You plug it in and you can turn on the switch.
Very nice. Awesome work, Andy.
Thanks, Bob.
Really appreciate it. I love these. I mean, if you think about it in a way, isn't that the style trend now? You've got the valance. So I guess what homeowners want is they want the light showing, but the fixture hidden.
That is correct. You can't see the fixture unless you're, for some reason, going through your cupboards down below, and you can look.
So are these generally, can you install these if the cabinets don't, if the upper cabinet doesn't have a valance?
You can, but they are very bright on your eyes.
Okay, so this diffuses it, so to speak.
That is correct.
And hides it for that style trend.
Correct, and it also keeps the wires hidden from in behind the light.
Terrific, terrific. Well, up next, Bob's Top Picks and Bob's Bewares at the shop. It's that time again. Bob's Bewares and Bob's Top Picks relating to today's program of electrical. Where do we start? If we can focus in here. Now, not to degrade these people, but believe me when I say, please, please, at all costs, avoid going to the dollar store for these cords. They're absolute junk. Some of them come with fake safety stickering that doesn't really comply to Canada, to our codes or standards. There have been some interviews on this or some notes in the media of house fires. It's not worth it at all. For those of you at home, go look up the ESA website. That's Electrical Safety Authority of Ontario. They actually have the logos and the safety stamps for wiring products sold in Canada that are legal and safe. Just to show you now, this is a tried, tested, improved one. This is a top pick. As you can see, Bob's had this for years. No fire issue, and the safety stamp rating is true. This is safe. This is real. This is not from the dollar store. It's from a big box store. I don't know which one because I've had it for ages. Now we'll jump back to one more item as well. John, my electrician, is always warning me about these multi-taps. Now typically when you have a receptacle at home, you can only plug 2 items in. This you can plug several in, and it isn't even fused. It doesn't even have a trip breaker in it. Please be careful where you shop. Saving $3, $4 and having your home burned down is not a wise choice. There's very few things that I'll endorse from a dollar store, maybe the chocolate, not the electrical. As a homeowner, especially if you're pulling the permit yourself and you're doing the job yourself, you've now potentially cut the crooked and overcharging contractor out of the equation. You're saving a lot of money. Depending on the job, sometimes the labor alone exceeds 60%, and a much smaller amount is the materials. If you're cutting the contractor out of the equation, save the money, reinvest it back into yourself, your home, your family, buy the highest quality materials and tools that you can. Thank you for enjoying the show. This is our wrap for our entire season 6. Heartfelt thank you to everyone watching the show. We work very hard to put these episodes together. We want to thank everybody at Cable 14 for their help, not only the people behind the camera, but also the people back at the studio editing and preparing things. We have the largest database on the net, www.justaskbob.com, over 60 half-hour shows and nearly 60 small home improvement segments. Follow us on the website, www.justaskbob.com. Pause, fast forward, rewind, and learn at your own pace. Or if you're old school, pick up the phone, 289-649-0196. Again, that's 289-649-0196. Call us anytime. Thank you. We have a special guest today, John Tenbrink.
Mess you up?
No, that was our blooper.